Did he fulfil his duty, Craig?
What as?
As a manager looking after his players after a defeat because of a bad refereeing decision?
I'm a bit on the fence with this one. I think he went over the top. But do we want robotic, boring managers in press conferences? So there's two sides to that. At the end of the day, he can gibber on all he wants. It's going to come down to results, performances, but mainly results. And that'll all shake out at the end of the year. And I've seen all this about Arsenal sending some sort of report to...
Yeah, every incident that's gone against them this season, they've sent
Yeah,
to
we're
PGMOL.
going to get all the incidents that go against us. We've got the referee, and well, there's 19 other teams that are in this league alone that are facing the same dilemma with these officials. And I'll hark back to this thing we seem to be going on about as well, and I do. It's not the FA's decision or the Premier League or the PGMOL or the referee's decision to sign Kai Havertz and bin Aaron Ramsdale. And that's as big a problem to me within performance as the referee giving something against him. And that's Mikel Arteta's decision.
So the referees have shown no kind of leniency or understanding to Arsenal at all, but let's just leave that alone. Listen, to Arteta's comment, I've had a lot to say about Arteta, both on air and off, in all honesty. And
yeah, I know. Going on about it.
Tell you what, you thought I was harping on about young boys.
Oh, no, it's Shaka again.
It's been a long couple of days. But listen, he's defending his players as best he can in the way that he sees fit. The club come and defend him, and I'm fine with it. You do that, but just understand that anybody who is impartial or anybody who is not Arsenal favouring kind of aren't buying it. So you do what you do, but understand that you're not winning any fans, you're not convincing anybody of any such injustice.
He's losing the money in the bank that he's built up from a lot of people. Now, he might say, I don't care about pundits, I don't care about newspapers, media, TV outlets, I don't care, but he will care. If they don't turn it around and he doesn't put a run together and he's getting a shellacking from left, right and centre, then he will care about it, because a lot of people have been happy to sit and go, myself included, he's done this has been a great turnaround. Last year was fantastic. Yeah. There's no shame getting overrun with Man City. Let's see where they go. Let's build on it, right? Now, we can agree and disagree with these decisions that he's made, with the signings and how he's lining the team up, blah, blah, blah. But I think within his comments and the continuous griping and the silly comments about 10 subs and changing goalkeepers during games and blah, 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 he's losing that will that he's built up. I think if Arsenal have a downturn now, there's going to be a lot more people ready to jump on Arteta's back for his team selection and comments than there was 6 weeks ago. And that's on him, and that piles pressure on.
Frankie, he says, though, he's doing all this to try and help the referees get better.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I don't know if he's really trying to help the referees. I think it's a fair reaction, I just want to remind also Shaka that Guimaraes should have been sent off. And I think it's a fair reaction to one game. He has the right to say what he feels, and if he feels that it was an unfair result because of a stupid decision from the VAR, especially on that goal, he has the right to say that. When he's wrong, where he's wrong is when he said that it's always against his team. That's not fair, because that's not true. And I think referees and everybody leading the game is really impartial. So I don't think it's right to do that, but I think it's just a fair reaction to say that he feels frustrated because of that result and because of those decisions.
Obviously, what's getting a lot of headlines, Ali, as well, is the way that Postecoglou conducted himself after the game yesterday in comparison to Arteta. And he said, look, when we were growing up, basically, the referee made a decision, you accepted it, you move on. It's not an easy job.
Yeah, and we were having this conversation over the weekend, and when it comes to Arteta, I think for me the issue is when he was asked earlier in this season about the Spurs-Liverpool game, he was calmly defending the referee and saying, look, these things happen. Yep. We just have to accept it. So it's all fine and well when it happens to somebody else, but when it happens to you, then it's no longer, we just have to accept this. Now it's some sort of vendetta or agenda against us, against my team. It's a disgrace, it's embarrassment, and so on and so forth. So whatever happened to that sort of calm and understanding way of saying, yeah, referees are going to make mistakes, these things happen. You can't have it both ways. You can't be on both sides of the argument. And for me, this is a very classic case of Captain Deflecto. I said it on the weekend, and I'll say it again. We are now talking about Arteta and what he's saying about the referees and what the decisions and how they're against Arsenal and all this and all that. And we're not talking about the fact that if you have a goalkeeper who can actually come out and catch a ball or be in the position in which he can deflect the ball, now this is no longer a conversation. This is no longer a discussion. We're not talking about his decisions. We're talking about refereeing decisions. This is Captain Deflecto. You're taking away from the questions that we should be asking and the conversations that we should be having. Instead, we're talking about Arteta and him defending his players.
Here's the thing, right? And I'll go back to this Arsenal report. If you were truly trying to help the referees better themselves and do a better job of refereeing games, then that report would include all the errors they've made, regardless of who's been playing. It would include all the times, but twice in the last 2 weeks, that Wolves have had calls go against them, if that is really what you're doing. If this report only has Arsenal incidents, then you're trying to be partisan. You want the referees to fix what they're doing with you. So it's to suggest that, well, we prepared a report, but it only has Arsenal incidents, but what we're really trying to do is help the referees be better throughout. That's just disingenuous. To Ali's statement, you can't have it both ways.
Managers have a duty now more than ever, whether they like it or not. Back in the day, decisions were made, right or wrong, human error. People would go down the pub, they'd have a pint, have an argument, have a discussion about it. There'd be one press conference a week. Managers would get on with it. That was a different day. There's two managers in particular are fueling the lynch mob at the moment in the Premier League more than any other. Last year it was Jurgen Klopp, with both his comments and his physical altercations with officials that make those idiots on social media and some of it at the ground froth at the mouth. And you're fueling that. And now we have Mikel Arteta, and I understand frustration, but he's bounced up and down on the technical area for 18 months now. He's been one of the worst. He's been reined in at that. And now these comments that I think, whilst understandable to be frustrated, were way over the top, now supported by a club who are usually one of the classiest in English football, Arsenal, who are dragging themselves through the mud over this because it's ridiculous, and they're doing nothing but fueling the idiotic, partisan people out there on social media and others that just now want to, I say kill, that's a strong word, who want to just do anything they can with these referees. And we saw it with Anthony Taylor and the Mourinho comments from the European game last year. We've seen what words matter to some of these fans that can't process things properly. And those two in particular, and some may disagree, some not, but I think those two, and Klopp seems to have reeled it back in for now, but those two in particular, out of all the managers, have fueled this element more than others. Now, you might have got away with that 15 years ago, but we don't live in that world now. We live in the world where people go home, they switch their phone on, and everybody's having a debate and an argument, and it just snowballs. And so I really think they have to be careful how they go about this. Nobody likes what's happening in English football, in particular with the referees. Nobody. But it's not going to get better by just keeping coming out and whinging and whining and moaning like you're the only club that's being wronged.
And it's not just the fans. It's the players as well. It's your players. Your players are listening to what you're having to say. And so they go out on the field, and when a call doesn't go your way, it's us again. Right. This happens to us. Well, no, you're not the only one. And while I understand, and I agree wholeheartedly, that the fans just can't quite process the information if it is presented in the way that Mikel Arteta is doing it. If I'm Mikel Arteta, I'm more concerned as to what I'm doing to my players. And what sort of message am I presenting to my players? And what kind of excuses am I making for my players? And in the end, they're going to lean on those excuses. When you need them to perform at their best, they're going to lean on excuses instead of performance. That's when you come up short.